Assalamualaikum. Welcome to the chapter number 8 of class 11th English book. That's an essay entitled The Many and the None. The Many and the None is an essay. Many means lots of, a lot of. None means nothing, no one, nobody, no member of a particular group. Now you know the meaning of the word many, you know the meaning of the word none. Can you understand, explain or predict the meaning of the phrase or the title the many and the none? This title is a tricky one. This is an interesting title. You know the meaning of both the conditional words, but I don't think you may have got the implications of the title, the significance, the meaning of the title, the many and the none. I want you to think over the title. I'll explain it later on. Meanwhile, I want to tell you that this essay, Many and the None, is about biological diversity or biodiversity. Biological diversity or biodiversity. Diversity means variety, and biological diversity means variety in the living world. The variety in the living world is known as biological diversity or biodiversity. We human beings live on the earth, in the biosphere, along with infinite number of other living creatures. When a man steps out of his home, he interacts with animals, different kinds of animals, large number of animals, interacts with plants, infinite number of plants, interacts with bacteria. Now, common person feels that a bacteria is a single species, but you know, there are hundreds and hundreds of varieties in bacteria. Bacteria shows infinite varieties. Bacteria shows more diversity than is shown by the higher animals. A man interacts with moneras, protistas. On the whole, we can say that there are infinite number of living creatures living in the earth. This feature of our earth or of the biosphere is known as biological diversity or biodiversity. The different creatures living in the world, in the biosphere, depend on one another. They've got a kind of relationship with one another. The living creatures are linked with one another in one way or the other way, directly or indirectly. All the living creatures are related with one another. Now, a common man may think that I don't have any relationship with an ant. If an ant is removed from the biosphere, I may not have to face any of the consequences, any of the serious factors. But I tell you, each and every living being living in the biosphere is related with one another in one way or the other way. There is a definite relationship between all the living creatures of the biosphere. If a particular living creature is removed from the biosphere, we will not feel the side effects immediately. But over a period of time, there we may have to face serious consequences, serious side effects. So the different living creatures have a kind of link with each other. They have evolved a sort of balance. If any of the living creatures is removed from the ecosystem may, the biosphere may lose its shape, it may lose its colors, it may lose its order, its identity. And we humans may also have to suffer because of the loss of any of the species, because of the loss of any of the creatures in the biosphere. This essay, Many and the None, is about biological diversity. Now I'll come to the title, Many and the None. I hope you have understood the title, The Many and the None. For me, these are two conditions set up by the writer. Condition number 1, many. Condition number 2, none. In the first condition, the writer presumes that many, that means lots of creatures exist along with human beings. And the condition number 2 means no creatures exist along with human beings. Can human beings exist, survive in both the conditions? In condition number 1, when human beings are given the company of other living creatures, they may survive easily. But in condition number 2, when human beings are not given the company of other living creatures, they may cease to exist, they may die, they may not live for a longer period. They may live for only a few days, for 2 or 3 days. So for me, the title, many and the none, these are the 2 conditions set up by the writer before human beings. Either to live with lots of creatures or to live with no creatures, to live alone. In the first para of the essay, the writer tries to define biological diversity on a philosophical level. He says, variety is the spice of life. Variety is the flavor of life. Life would have been boring if each day was like the other. If each day was the same. We often hear the word biological diversity. But what do we mean by the word biological diversity? What is its significance for us? Today, I'll explain the word biological diversity for people living in the urban areas. I'll give you the example. Since you eat different kinds of food, food either comes from either plants or animals. Since you eat different kinds of food, so their sources must also be different. So the plants and animals supplying that food or used as a source of food must also be different. That is biological diversity for you. How distasteful it would have been if we had to eat same dish every single time. How distasteful life would have been if we had to eat only potatoes or only aubergine. Very distasteful. How distasteful life would have been if we had to live on only one variety of mango. Again, common man feels that mango is one kind of creature. But in mangoes, there are hundreds and hundreds of types of mangoes. That's also biological diversity. Biological diversity is the variety and variability of life on Earth. It is displayed by different kinds of wood used for painting. Biological diversity is displayed in Holi. Holi is the festival of colors. In Holi, different colors are used. Nowadays, colors are synthesized in laboratories. Colors are prepared from chemicals in laboratories. But in the past time, colors were obtained from dye-producing plants. Since in Holi, different colors are used. Colors are obtained from plants. So different colors must have been obtained from different plants. That is biological diversity for you. Diversity is displayed by our clothes. Clothes were also primarily obtained from either plants or animals. People use different kinds of cloths. So their sources, that's animals or plants, must also have been different. That's also biological diversity or biodiversity for you. For me, biological diversity or biodiversity includes charismatic animals that evoke awe and excitement. Animals like tiger, rhino, lion, dolphins, etc. Biological diversity includes the species which are used as flagship species in conservation programs. The species whose photographs, image are used in conservation programs, like deer, like rhino. And biological diversity also includes ecosystems. Ecosystem is an interaction between living and non-living things, between biotic and abiotic factors. Geography of Earth differs from region to region. climatic conditions, weather conditions, soil conditions, air qualities differ from place to place. So the living beings also differ. Plants, flora, fauna also differ from place to place. So the interactions are different at different places. In a forest, there are different kinds of plants, different kinds of animals, different kinds of bacteria. In a pond, there are all together different kinds of life, different kinds of plants, animals, and bacteria, and different kind of interaction. And these interactions differ. So ecosystems also differ. There are many types of ecosystems. To name a few, we have forests, lakes, rivers, coasts, seas, grasslands, agricultural fields, pastures, deserts, snow-bound peaks, and even urban areas with vegetation and water bodies. These are some of our ecosystems. In each ecosystem, we find different kinds of plants, animals, bacteria, different kinds of interaction. That also displays, shows biological or biodiversity. Now, these aspects of biodiversity are obvious. We know cow is different from monkey. Monkey is different from a tiger. Tiger is different from human being. Human beings are different from apple trees. Apple tree is different from walnut tree. We can perceive these differences. These differences, this biological diversity is obvious to everyone. But there is another hidden aspect of biological diversity. That is the basic building blocks of life. Like proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, they also show diversity. We say protein, when we say protein is not a single type of thing. Carbohydrates or lipids. Proteins are of different kinds. Carbohydrates are also of different kinds, and lipids are also of different kinds. Proteins are made up of amino acids, and amino acids, the constituents of proteins also differ. And these basic building blocks, proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, combine in all sorts of combinations to form more complex and diverse structures, like genes, chromosomes. These basic building blocks combine in all sorts of directions to form more diverse molecules, compounds, or structures. This aspect of biological diversity is not obvious to everyone. And we often hear the word that biological diversity is disappearing. It is disappearing. And the diversity in genes, diversity in the basic building blocks of life is very, very vital for all living beings, especially when the environmental conditions change, when climatic changes take place. Living beings fight with the changing environments, with the changing climates, only and only with the help of diversity in the basic building blocks, diversity in the genes. The diversity in the genes of a particular species helps the species to go through the harsh environmental conditions, to go through the environmental changes. If a species has a good diversity in genes, that means the species has more chances to survive in the changing environments. If a species genetics is not so diverse, that means the species may lose its resilience, the species may lose its way, may become extinct. There is another thing that we people hear often at our homes, on radios, TVs, on social networking sites, is that vegetables, food grains, fruits are losing their tastes. Why? It is because of the fact that fruits, vegetables and food grains are being doctored. New varieties of crops are being produced by the help of genetic engineering with only one focus, that is yield maximization. Good colors, that is new varieties of food grains, crops, fruits, vegetables are produced with one aim, that is we should have the variety which would have a better yield, a good color, good exterior. With the result, what happens? People go for the new varieties, the varieties which have good yields, and the natural variants of that food crop, that vegetable or that fruit are lost. Over a period of time, we lose the diversity of that fruit, vegetable or food grains. From the surface, it looks like that we have got a lot of benefit from genetic engineering, from the new varieties of crops. But on a deeper level, when we see what we see that this has resulted in the loss of biological diversity, and it has had its harmful impacts on the biosphere.